Most people think birds wake up at 5 a.m. to sing because they're happy, like the morning somehow puts them in a good mood. But that's not actually what's happening, because the sounds outside your window before sunrise aren't random at all. They're strategic. At that exact hour, thousands of birds are doing something surprisingly calculated. They're broadcasting territory, testing nearby rivals, proving stamina, and sending a message that other birds immediately understand. I survived the night. And once you realize what the dawn chorus really is, you may never hear morning birds the same way again. If you've ever opened your window before sunrise, you probably noticed something strange. The birds are loudest before the world is even fully awake, before traffic, before people, before there's enough light to properly see. And for a long time, scientists were confused by that too. Because from a survival standpoint, it doesn't make much sense. Singing exposes a bird's location. It burns energy. It attracts predators. So why would so many species voluntarily announce themselves at the most vulnerable time of day? The answer is hidden in what happens right before sunrise. At that hour, the air is cooler, calmer, and carries sound farther. Birds can't efficiently search for food yet because visibility is still low. So instead of wasting energy flying blindly, many species use that window to communicate. And what they communicate is far more sophisticated than most people realize. Some birds are warning rivals not to cross invisible territorial boundaries. Others are advertising physical fitness to potential mates. In fact, researchers have found that in several species, the males that sing earliest and longest are often perceived as healthier and stronger. Because surviving the night already means something. But having enough energy to immediately start singing afterward, that's an even bigger signal. And honestly, once you start thinking about your backyard as a place full of invisible negotiations, instead of random nature sounds, the entire atmosphere changes. What makes this even more fascinating is that birds are not simply making noise at dawn. In many cases, they're carefully timing and positioning those calls in ways that reduce conflict before it even starts. Ornithologists sometimes describe this as an acoustic territory system. Instead of constantly fighting, birds use repeated songs to establish presence, distance, confidence, and familiarity with neighboring birds. And surprisingly, many birds already know the voices of the individuals around them. There's a real behavioral phenomenon called the deer-enemy effect, where territorial birds become less aggressive toward familiar neighboring birds than toward complete strangers. Which means the robin singing outside your house may actually recognize the surrounding birds by sound alone. Day after day, those vocal patterns create a kind of stable map of who belongs where. That's part of why the dawn chorus can sound almost organized when you really listen to it. Certain species sing at slightly different times. Some avoid overlapping calls. Others intentionally answer each other from a distance. It's less like random singing and more like a constantly updating broadcast network. And the timing matters more than people think. Studies on species like blackbirds and song sparrows have shown that males in better physical condition often begin singing earlier in the morning. Scientists believe this may function as an honest signal of fitness. After all, nighttime is dangerous for small birds. Temperatures drop, food intake stops, energy reserves shrink hour by hour. So if a bird can immediately start projecting strong, complex songs before sunrise, it's indirectly proving that it made it through the night in good condition. In other words, the morning chorus is partly survival advertisement. But there's another layer most people never notice. The birds in your backyard are also listening far more than they sing. Researchers have observed that many species constantly monitor changes in local sound patterns. A missing song, a delayed call, or an unfamiliar voice can immediately trigger investigation or defensive behavior. To humans, dawn sounds peaceful. To birds, it's information. Every call helps update the status of territory, safety, competition, and social stability. And once you realize that, mornings start sounding less like background ambience and more like an entire ecosystem checking in with itself before the day begins. And this is where humans quietly enter the system. Because the dawn chorus doesn't happen in isolation anymore, birds are now trying to perform these ancient communication rituals inside environments that humans constantly reshape. And researchers have started noticing something unusual because of that. In cities and suburban neighborhoods, many birds now begin singing earlier than they used to, sometimes significantly earlier. One major reason appears to be artificial light. Street lights, porch lights, illuminated windows, and urban glow can trick birds into behaving as if sunrise is arriving sooner than it actually is. Some species adjust by starting their territorial broadcasts earlier in the morning, especially in areas with heavy nighttime lighting. Noise pollution changes things too. In louder urban environments, birds often modify the pitch, timing, or volume of their songs just to be heard. Some species sing at higher frequencies to avoid low-frequency traffic noise. Others rush their dawn singing into the quietest moments before humans fully wake up. Which means that what sounds peaceful to us may actually be birds competing against an environment that keeps getting harder to communicate through. And then there's something even more personal: your backyard feeder. Most people see bird feeders as simple acts of kindness, and in many cases they absolutely help birds survive harsh conditions. But feeders also change territorial dynamics. Reliable food sources can increase aggression, alter social hierarchies, and attract species that normally wouldn't interact so closely. Some birds become dominant around feeders, while others avoid the area entirely. Scientists have documented cases where predictable feeding locations reshape daily movement and competition patterns between species. So the birds outside your house are not just adapting to nature anymore. They're adapting to you, your lights, your schedule, your noise, your yard layout. Even the time you refill a feeder can subtly influence which birds appear first, which birds stay longer, and which ones avoid the space completely. And maybe that's the strangest part of all. For most of human history, people heard the dawn chorus and assumed it was simply background beauty. But the deeper scientists study bird behavior, the clearer it becomes that these sounds are part of an active communication system built around survival, territory, memory, energy, and constant environmental awareness. A system that has been happening around us the entire time. We just never understood the language. So tomorrow morning, before the sun comes up, try something different. Don't listen to the birds as background noise. Listen like you're overhearing a system. Because that sound outside your window is not random joy. It's thousands of tiny survival decisions happening in real time. Territorial warnings, fitness signals, familiar voices checking in across invisible boundaries that exist all around your neighborhood, whether humans notice them or not. And honestly, I think that's what makes the dawn chorus so fascinating. The more science uncovers about bird communication, the less simple it becomes. These animals are constantly tracking each other, adapting to environmental changes, responding to human activity, and broadcasting information in ways most people completely overlook. Which means every sunrise is carrying conversations we were never really meant to understand. And once you realize that, mornings feel different, quieter somehow, but also far more alive. So now I'm curious, what's the earliest bird you hear where you live? And after hearing this, do you think you'll hear it differently tomorrow morning?